his vertebrae, never played again. Fortunately for him, he was able to get up and walk again and go on with his life, but never put a helmet on or shoulder pads on ever again. And it can happen that easily, just as quickly, whether you do it, whether it happens because of a severe, career-ending injury, or it happens because you're a knucklehead and you get yourself in trouble. Either way.
Right. I'm going to read now. Here's the full statement, the letter that the NFL sent to Adrian Peterson about this. And I want you to listen to this, you guys listening, and listen to it and just say, now, if you go, well, he didn't do that yesterday. Okay, that's a different argument. That's what I was just saying. But there's at no point that you listen to this and go, there's anything not 100% right about what they said, except for the fact that they just now decided to start doing it. Now, there's your hypocrisy, and you can criticize the NFL for that. But you can't say that this letter is wrong. Mr. Peterson, we're prepared to put in place a program that can help you succeed, but no program will succeed without your genuine, continuing engagement. You must commit yourself to counseling and rehabilitative effort, properly care for your children, and have no further violations of law or league policy. You have shown no meaningful remorse for your conduct. When indicted, you acknowledged what you did, but said you will not eliminate whipping my kids, and defended your conduct in numerous published text messages which you sent to the child's mother. You also said at the time that you felt very confident with your actions because you knew your intent. These comments raise serious concern that you do not fully appreciate the seriousness of your conduct, or even more, you may feel free to engage in similar conduct in the future. The difference in size and strength between you and the child is significant, and your actions clearly caused physical injury to the child. While an adult may have options when confronted with that situation, none of these options is realistically available to a 4-year-old child. And it went on to explain the discipline that they left with Adrian Peterson. Again, you can say, well, where were you yesterday? And I'll give you that because I can name 100 guys. If you've ever taken the time to read, there's some incredible books out there about some of the criminals playing today, yesterday, every day in the NFL, and how, some vile crimes that people don't even know about. Don't even know that these guys have them in their track record all over the league. They're on every team. You'll find one on every team somewhere. And so I'm not saying that the NFL did not turn a blind eye up until a few months ago to this stuff. That's true. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're right about this here, even if they were wrong about not disciplining people before. They're 100% right about this, and they have got to continue. Now, at this point, though, now you're setting a precedent. Now, if the next case like this comes up, you got to suspend them for the whole season because now you have to continue to follow the precedent that you set. Because if you don't, now people can say, hey, there's no fairness to this process. So it does have to now go across the board.
Yeah, totally agree. And this is where, the league has to show now that there, like you said, a zero tolerance policy. Every one of these guys that has something like this happen going down there, and it doesn't even have to be child abuse, it could be anything. Any kind of serious infraction now has to be handled by at least a 6-game suspension, and if it's the second time, it's got to be the whole season.
I'll tell you. Here's interesting. Sports Nation poll, and it's only 2,000 votes, so it's a very small sample size. But 61% of the people believe that it was wrong for the NFL to suspend Peterson for the rest of the season. I'm a little bit surprised by that. But again, it's a very, very, very small sample size. So, kind of hard to take too much off of that there as far as that. But not to me. To me, there's nothing wrong with this whatsoever. And I don't care. You can bet I'd be saying the same thing if his uniform was brown and orange, brother. That's for sure. As much as I thought it was ridiculous what all the brouhaha that Josh Gordon went through with waiting to find out and everything. Once all that was done, the rules are what they are, man, and it is what it is. And the Browns had to deal with that. Josh Gordon had to deal with that. I'm just saying, at that point, you want to argue beforehand whether rules are fair, that's cool. But whatever they are, you got to deal with it. And I'm all for that. And I'm telling you, I can believe it. I was mentioning this before I brought you on. I mentioned Ray Rice because I saw articles this morning that said Colts not interested in signing Ray Rice because Bradshaw went down this weekend, which, by the way, that's where I think Ben Tate is probably going to end up playing some football. But that was a dumb article because, to me, there's not a consideration in the world. Come on. Not a 1% chance Ray Rice signs to play football anywhere for anybody this season. I mean, what franchise? I don't care what few hundred yards he may bring you on the field, which is not even a guarantee. What franchise in the world would bring him on this season? That is the most radioactive football player / human being in the sports world right now. Why would people think that any team would consider signing Ray Rice? And to be honest with you, if now that the NFL's gone this far with Adrian Peterson, why would they allow Ray Rice back on the field for the rest of this season? They wouldn't. There's no way. You can't do that now that you told AP to stay home.
Well, this is fan driven, and regardless of what happens outside of football, you have a segment of guys that live their life through fantasy football. And if there's any possibility that one guy would make a difference, and I'm not going to lie, Jerry, I played games.
I do too.
I don't pick a scab when I see a scab on my hand. I don't pick a scab and make it bleed. And that's what this is. This is people who are strictly looking at the money that the game generates, whether it be through gambling, through fantasy football, or whatever, through merchandise, that are saying this guy should come back. Because, as far as I'm concerned, until somebody has proven that they have, I'll use the faith-based word, until they've done their penance and they've done what they're supposed to do and kept their act clean for an entire year or whatever the span of suspension is, don't talk about somebody coming back on the field, because Ray Rice is not getting back on the field in 2014. It's
exactly.
just that simple.
But let's just forget even the NFL side of it. Because they're appealing this thing, and we know that Judge Jones Barbara Jones is trying to decide this thing. Let's pretend that we wake up tomorrow, breaking news: Barbara Jones has reinstated Ray Rice immediately to the NFL. Legitimately, do you think there's one team in the league that would sign that man for the remainder of this season? I truly don't, just because that video was so played everywhere and he is so radioactive that I don't think any team, even if they're a good team that's able to handle bad publicity, like the Patriots are known for bringing in a guy like that, but not a guy like that. I believe Ray Rice is at a radioactive level that no team, even if he's given the free reign tomorrow, I don't think anybody would sign him. But am I wrong? Is there a team out there that would actually sign him this season? It can't be.
No, I don't even think the Raiders would do it. And the Raiders,
I mean,
they've
they
shown
would need him
in
anyway.
The last couple of years, they'd sign anybody. So,
I mean, I can't see it. People keep telling me I'm crazy. They're like, J-Rock, man, a team that needs a guy at the end of the season to make a Super Bowl run. And I'm thinking, even if that's the case, what makes you think this is the guy? Even if he hadn't been through all this, what makes you think he's the guy? Because he was already on the way down in his career anyway. He was already starting to have that slump where he wasn't living up to what he used to be anyway. Now people are talking about Josh Gordon. Can he hit the ground running? He's been out for the first 10 weeks of the season, and that's going to affect anybody no matter how much you lift weights and run on the treadmill while you're at the house waiting. You haven't been playing football for 10 weeks. But same thing here. Even if this guy was, maybe if he was 5 years younger even, I could see people going, well, he's good enough that at least then I can justify, and even then you don't justify it. But what conversation are you having about Ray Rice? Like, what's he going to do? Come in and average 2.5 yards a carry for you? If that's the case, just trade for Trent Richardson.
Yeah, no question.
I'm just kidding.
If
Sorry,
that's really
T-Rich.
what you want, go get Richardson back. Or
I'm just kidding. I'm
sure,
just saying. I'm just saying, man.
And I'm sure if you want a guy to give you 2 yards in a cloud of dust, you can call up Brandon Jacobs and he'll come back to 6
There are a lot of guys out. Right. There's guys right now sitting at the house that you can call and get 2.5 yards of carry for all day. Willie McGahee can probably come in and give you 2.5 yards of carry. We saw that last year. That's probably all he's going to give you. But he'll give you that. He'll give you 2 yards of carry. I'm just saying. There's your former Raven. Go call McGahee. See what he's up to. But anyways, yeah, I get a trip out of that because even if they reinstate him tomorrow, all this talk about these the judge and all of these hearings and everything. I'm like, so what? So what if tomorrow she says, shame on you, NFL, Ray Rice is reinstated immediately? That's great. That's great. He's reinstated immediately because I dare you to show me a football team that'll sign him. There's no way no team wants to take on that. I mean, because when teams make decisions like that, they balance risk and reward. The reward is what you get on the field out of it. There's no reward to signing Ray Rice. If there was, then some football team would do it because they would care more about what happens on the field than what happens off the field. But there is no reward for signing Ray Rice. To me, that's just like signing some guy who's been sitting at the house all off season hoping to get a job. That's like you just said. Brandon Jacobs is sitting around somewhere with a cell phone. There's no reward, so there is no story. Nobody's signing Ray Rice, and if they do, that would be the most foolhardy decision because why? Why would you open yourself up to all that and not get anything for it on the field? All right, guys. We'll stop talking about that for now. Like you said, a little bit of alphabet soup. Let's shift gears a little bit, talk about the DEA. We mentioned this 3 months ago. Brought this up when the concussion lawsuits and all of that was going on because, and I just remember talking about it. Not very long. We talked maybe 5 minutes. We touched on this about how the DEA was perked up with some of the testimony and some of the depositions that they saw. And now all of a sudden, as an aside from the concussion deal, now the DEA was wanting to find out about, hey, wait a minute, are these doctors taken? Because when team doctors, like the Browns team doctor, he's licensed here in Ohio. He practices out of the facility in Berea. That's where he dispenses his medication, gives the guys their pain shots and all of that stuff. He's able to be at the stadium because that's here in his jurisdiction. But technically, those doctors are not allowed to bring their medication on the road. Like when the Browns go to Atlanta this weekend, their doctor, even though it's believed that they all do, their doctor is not allowed to pack up his morphine and Demerol and all of that stuff and take it to Atlanta and then disperse it there. They actually have to go through the Falcons doctors and the people that are licensed in Atlanta. And basically what the NFL is believed to have done for practically all of their existence, and Dr. Football, you can correct me when I'm done if I'm wrong, but the belief is that that's obviously what happens is these doctors take their meds all over the country. They go week to week from stadium to stadium, and they take care of their guys in the hotel, in the training facilities, in the stadiums. And technically, that's all illegal because those doctors are not licensed to cross states and give out medication to guys. So now the DEA, not only are they investigating, but they came with surprise raids this past weekend and hit several different teams where they literally came in and said, let's see your bags. And they start looking through doctor bags. And these are search warrants. This is not a friendly, hey, let's talk. These guys are raiding. This was an unexpected deal here. There could be a lot to come out of this. This is the DEA. This is federal government. This is no small stuff.
Yeah, and if I could point you and our buddies in the chat room back to the movie Any Given Sunday.
Absolutely. Very big on that.
A little while after that, I had a conversation with Mark Taylor, and he said, you would not believe, he said, how close to the truth that really is. And he says, I'm not pointing the finger at the Giants, because, Ronnie Bonds and them, they run a tight ship. It's not the Giants, but there are a lot of teams in the NFL that do that. He says, don't be surprised if one day the government just decides to crack down on it, and there it is.
Right. And so, a lot of people, though, surprised. And I right away said, man, we talked about this months ago. And I said, dude, am I the only one seeing nobody's really talking about this? When the DEA says, hey, wait a minute, that's something. And that's going to be regardless of what separate from the lawsuit here, that's going to be a big can of worms that can be opened. Because I got to tell you, and I don't know this for a fact, but I talked to a lot of players, not just players from last year, players from 2 decades ago and from the old school, and lots of former NFL alumni. And I mean, it really is. A lot of what the DEA is looking for is true. It's just, is it still going on? And you got to think it does. I mean, there's too many people that have already. That's where this came from. Is depositions from player after player of these things happening. I mean, clearly we know it's true. The matter is just